Hello Tubesters, it's Gav. Welcome to another one of my videos. Hopefully the title will suggest that this is a second entry into Military Modeller Paul's Remembrance Day group build. It's a group build that's, I won't say unofficial because obviously Paul's running it, but as he says, there's no, there's not going to be big photo montages going up or anything. It's just anybody that fancies doing a build for Remembrance Day, which is obviously now past, but fill your boots. I can't say fill your boots, I'm going through that a lot at the moment. Anyway, this is my second one. You're asking, Gav, what's happened to the first one? It's still looking like this. It will change. Tuesday is when I'm doing my priming. Please, Gav, don't drop this now, because we are into the priming stage of that. So the horse is going to be done. I reckon the horse is going to have to be done a couple of times, because what I'm finding with this, about this second group build entry, and I'm talking about the first one, but the one thing, when you have two halves, you have a seam line. I'm not very good at filling seam lines. I'm doing my best. I've got a model aircraft I'm about to show in a second video, hopefully today. Because I want to get, I don't like being defeated by stuff. As I say, I'm not particularly clever, and I'm not great at doing stuff a lot of the times, and I'm not having this beat me. So this is just taking time. Once I can get over this seam line, you'll start seeing progress with this, because then I'm into my comfort zone of painting. I'm not saying it's going to be brilliant, but at least I'll feel like I'm understanding what I'm doing. Whereas filling this, I just don't want a line. I really do not want a line down its back, so that's why it's taking a bit of time. Let's get back to the reason why we've got this second group build entry. I'm waffling again. I don't care. My Mara Mick from the MGH 1736 channel. You haven't been seeing a lot of Mick lately. He's joined the Foreign Legion. No, he hasn't really, but he couldn't get in the Boys Brigade, never mind the Foreign Legion. No, Mick's, I wouldn't say chuck the towel in, but he's not really into the painting his figures and going on YouTube at the moment. So that's why we're not seeing a lot of him, or any of him. So, but anyway, getting back to it, he sent me these. This was the beginning of our friendship. He sent me these out of the blue. They are the, I'm trying to show you these when I'll be doing the Salute Great War figures. It was to commemorate the 1918 to 2018. Thank you. He sent me those out of the blue, and to my shame, I couldn't do them the year he sent me them, which would be 18. Yeah, I couldn't do them. And I planned to do them for this year's, as a remembrance build for this year. Do you think I could find them? Now, you know me, guys, I have a very small work area, a very small man cave. I can't lose stuff. I don't have a lot to lose in the first place, whether it's space or things in general. But I lost these, and it turned out that Mick had sent them in a white envelope, and for some unaccountable reason I put them along with my receipts that I keep, self-employed. And I put them with my receipts, as you do. So it's looking. My wife looking through my receipts yesterday, found them, or yeah, the other day found them, and I've really wanted to do these. One, because Mick was kind enough to send them me in the first place. Secondly, obviously the Great War is one of my main passions, so I want to do them. I've knocked up a bit. Then I had the conflict, because I've got in my head what I've wanted to do for these for the year or so, which is make a small bunker as a backdrop and put these three guys in front of it. Now I felt really guilty. I had got plans to source around other figures to represent other participating nations. This is obviously for the end of the war. We have a Tommy. There's slight variants. You could obviously call it, I'd call him an empire figure, so Canadian, Australian, New Zealand, anywhere, Newfoundland. who Newfoundland wasn't part of Canada then, I believe. There were a few small alterations on the uniform and that, but you could basically call it that. But we're calling him a Tommy, and we have our German figure, and look how tiny these are. And you can't see. I don't know why I'm even saying this, and we have a French figure, which again you could say Belgium as well, But we're going to do the three nations. I had kept saying to myself, well, maybe I could, represent a Canadian figure, Indian figures, Indian as in the old India, the Raj, Indian figure, you name it, Russian figures, and then Portuguese. Problem is, you're always going to drop somebody, leave somebody out, and somebody's going to say, what about such and such? And what would I literally, I couldn't build it. It's a simple little vignette, isn't it, of three fellas that have survived the war, and none of them look young, So you could say that they were either three veterans or whatever, but it just works to three figures. Let's not make it overly complicated, and in remembering them, we'll remember them all. They also come with a little base. Now it says A Perry at the bottom, so I'll take it the Perry's done these. It says Salute 18. I'll probably be covering that over so nothing against. Obviously, they were good enough to do the figures in the first place, but you've got like a little crate and the Frenchman's, looks like the Frenchman's backpack, which I believe he's supposed to be sitting on. So after all that, tiny little metal figures you can't see, and they're in 28mm, by the way. We'll go down to the bench. I've cut up some blue foam in the early stages. I completely forgot to film it. I was in two minds whether to do a video where I just kept filming it and storing the film and then just making one video. But this is me. Every opportunity to load a video up, let's do it. So we're looking at some blue foam at the moment, nothing else. I'll give you a look at these figures. Join me at the bench and we'll have a quick look. Right guys, thank you for joining me at the bench, and this is what we've got. It looks like something out of Stonehenge. A lot of these, the reason why the Allied forces didn't have the bunker complexes that the Germans had in the Great War, First World War, was mainly because, especially in the British mentality, they didn't want to put their fellas in deep dugouts and all the concrete and everything, because as far as they were concerned, they were going to be advancing all the time. They didn't want a siege mentality. Whereas the Germans, it was a case of, we've taken this ground and we're going to hold it, and we're just going to literally turn you into, as it happened, like at Verdun, turn you into mincemeat, and hopefully you'll sap your will to survive, to continue the war. So they built theirs, they'd often build them further back behind the lines on a decent bit of high ground, and high ground in the Great War could be, literally a small slope. But they would always dominate our trenches, or on the majority of the time. We were always more in the mud than they were, because we were in the low ground. So obviously water channels, especially as the water courses were broken up with the shelling. Not to say that the Germans weren't in muck as well, but we tended to be in the low ground. We tended to get a lot of the more muck. They could see more into our areas, and they built these like overnight or behind the lines, and then moved the lines back until finally they occupied. It was their main occupied lines. And this is the rear of one. So you've got your trench running along. You've got your trench running along in front here. Oh, come on, Gav, let's get a stick going. Right, we've got our trench would be running along here, and then you go in. You never normally have a direct line to anything, so that's obviously attacking forces if they get into the trench, and they've got to obviously snake their way around, just like in a castle. I'm probably going to put a couple of gun ports. They'd be lower down, obviously, because this goes further down. I'd probably put gun ports here. I may even put one on the side, I'm not sure yet, and probably one above somewhere, or put them up there, obviously, because they'd be pretty small if they were here. So something like that. But the main firing machine gun slits would be out here. Now this is just going to be, let's see, this will fall over now. Hang on, let's put that there. That's loose, by the way. This is going to be our base. These have been glued down, as you can see, with PVA. Just put those paint boxes in the background on top of them just to weight it down. It's worked fine. So these, there's going to be nothing here. This is going to be blacked out here. I'm going to keep the sides painted just to put it a bit more in context, and the top as well. This will be black here, here, and here, with just the front probably. I'm going to build up the sides ever so slightly here to show more of a trench mud look, obviously, rather than this being concrete. I've just hacked out. I didn't have many tools, to be honest with you. I was just hacking. You need to invest in tools, and here we are. It's a 50p worth cheap pair of scissors, which did most of the hacking out. I'll be putting some DAS clay in or something, so this will all be changed. This in here is going to be some debris. This is not going to look like this. It's going to be chobbled out now. I've put some lines in here to represent where they've laid the concrete up as they've been filling the concrete in. I've got a book all on trenches, so I'm going to be flicking through that later on. I'm going to keep the figures on the original base and just sit her in there, obviously, but more flat and, hopefully a bit more artistic looking. It really is just a backdrop for this, that's all it's going to be. So these are the figures. Here's our French guy. Can we get in closer? Again, it's obviously the bare metal's going to shine. It's all about the Tommy's stood up and he's pouring, obviously, drinks into their mugs. So I can't say it in French. I can't speak French at all. Poulie, hairy ones as they were called. I'm sorry to my guys like Phil. I apologise. I've got no French whatsoever. So yeah, that'll be cut off, obviously, and it's got a peg somewhere on one of them. Oh no, this one probably doesn't actually, because he's sitting on the box. We've got this guy here, Lancer here. I'll probably paint his steel helmet with a bit of camouflage, maybe, as they did, just to make it a bit different. He's got putties on in late war, so obviously the big bolts you always see on these First World War and 1920s type helmets are, I think, because they could mount they had a face shield that mounted on the top, or an extra shield, I should say, that mounted on the top of the helmets for in case a sniper tried to take your head off. And again, there's our little peg there that would go into the hole of the base. There's no weapons on them, which is, always remember that little pimple on the top of the Brody helmet's supposed to be there, so if you ever do a Great War figure, don't take them off. Quite a lot of times towards the last year or so of the war, that they'd have Hessian on the top of these, just to break the silhouette up a bit. So there's a bit of clean up involved in them, a fair bit of mould lining and whatever, but that's not too much of a problem. So 3 lads survived the war. Let's hope they survive the Spanish flu epidemic after it, as we're living in those type of times again. So that's it, guys. Let me just move that back slightly. At the moment we've got a rather blue Stonehenge. This blue foam, by the way, it makes excellent little bases. Not that I've made any yet, but I did pay about 15 quid for it, which was, I thought was, I suppose with this postage, because it comes in a big box. But they sell offcuts on eBay. It's a UK company. Can't remember who it was. but it can carve up really nicely. This looks more beat up than it is because I hadn't got a proper knife, and I just decided to, at the last minute last night, to start hacking away at stuff. So, but it's taken 3 of those to get here. But it is very good stuff, and I've got a bigger sheet of it from years ago that I've bought some rock moulds from Woodland Scenics. I've still got one waiting for one to come, but I've got this type of stuff, slightly thicker, for the which I've had for a good few years, and that's going to be cut up for the base for the Tiger Tank and cut up base for the SAS Pink Panther. That's just been waiting for the rock moulds. That's all done. So yeah, it's that's going to be our second group build entry. As usual, nothing's 5 minutes for me, but it shouldn't take too long to do this one, along with everything else. And I'll probably be changing my mind a lot along the way. But yeah, it's basically, it's there as a backdrop for these guys, just to put some context in, rather than just, you know, just stick them on a milk bottle top or on a MDF base. So thank you very much for stopping by and taking a look. There will be hopefully another video up. The house is quiet at the moment, so I might get this second video up. I've got an unboxing of an Eduard Focke-Wulf 190A8 R2, and that's in 1:72 scale. So I might be putting that up in a minute. But yeah, this is what we're going to be building our second one. I thank Paul for coming up with the idea and for putting it out there for anybody that wanted to join. I wasn't expecting to do 2. But it would be nice to at least get 1 finished. So keep an eye on this one, guys. It'll keep appearing on videos every so often, and you know, hopefully we'll catch up with it soon. Take care of yourselves.